My name is Marc Keane, and I'm here at my exhibit of ceramics at the Nevin Wellcome Center at the Cornell Plantations. I am primarily a garden designer. I designed the Tiger Glen Garden, which is at the Johnson Museum here on the Cornell campus. But I got into ceramics mostly by way of my wife, Momoko, who is Japanese and a ceramic artist. Momoko and I lived together after we were married for about 18 years in Kyoto, her hometown, before we moved here to Ithaca. So for many years, I lived next to and inside of a ceramic studio, watching her work and playing with the clay, doing different things, not as a ceramic artist, but just as someone who was in the studio. And over the course of doing that, I came to discover that certain organic materials, paper, leaves, grasses, when coated with clay, coated with a slip, which is a liquid clay, and then fired in a wood kiln, would create a kind of a fossil of the original material, a casting or a memory of the original grasses and leaves, making very beautiful sculptures, which were also quite fragile and maybe a little bit difficult to work as a sculpture for a ceramic artist. But for a garden designer, this was fine with me. The process that I use in making these pieces begins with a grass or leaf, which I coat with a liquid slip of clay. I do my work in the summertime when I can work outside, and only on days when the sun is very strong. I coat the pieces, shape them into a skeleton form, and then leave them in the sun where they dry rather quickly in the space of a few hours or certainly by the end of the day. The next day, I make another layer, and I keep adding to the pieces until the sculptural form is complete. Some of the forms look like cocoons, some look like nests, others look much more like abstract sculpture. But the starting point is the same. It all starts with a substrate of some kind of organic material. This piece is a cocoon-shaped piece made out of long grasses, actually a kind of grass called miscanthus, which I harvested here at the plantations. At the end of the year, when the grasses are cut back for the winter, they have piles of these long stems of the miscanthus grass, long blades of grass. And that's what I collected and used to make these long spiraling forms. Initially, it was a single strand dried in the sun, and then each day there would be another layer added and another, and then the whole piece is dipped in a liquid clay to add some strength and bulk to it, and then it's fired in a wood kiln. The kiln fires for 4 to 5 days, and it's that process of flame hitting the clay which makes all of the color and surface quality that you see in these works. The knot is significant in many ancient cultures where it signifies ownership of territory or property. In the primitive landscape, you may see activities of animals chewing things, breaking things, but you'll never see any animal make a knot except a human. So the knot was the most basic and clear evidence of human occupation. The shape of the knot in Japanese is also, it's called musubi, and it also refers not only to ownership, but to the connectivity of human society. So the relationships between people. The verb used to express that relationship is musubu, or tie in a knot. So for me, this knot is both the ancient, most primitive symbol of humans saying, here I am a human, and also the wonderful social expression of relationships between people. This small piece has a core of grasses and then other grasses wrapped around it. The core burns out, leaving a hollow, cocoon-like shape. And after the piece is built up and finished, it's then coated with a mineral slip called shino. It's a Japanese glaze, which is made primarily of feldspar, the mineral feldspar. When it goes in the fire, the feldspar melts and creates this whitish covering. The green that you see in it is actually the ash of the fire itself that over the 4 or 5 days of firing falls onto the piece, and the ash melts into the melting shino and turns to this lovely green. This piece, which is a cube shape, was made by using a plant called Japanese knotweed, which is a terrible invasive plant that everyone around here hates. In Japan, the knotweed is actually used as a food. The new shoot can be dug up and eaten, and it's quite delicious. So in some cultures, people see things as weeds. In other cultures, they're actually beneficial. But here it's a weed. I collected some from the roadside, and the knotweed, similar to bamboo, but much softer, is a tubular plant. And I collect those long tubular stems and dry them, cut them up, and with different layers of clay, build them up into a very large form. And then I cut out of that form this sculptural shape, shaping the cube form and boring out a hole in the front. When it fires in the kiln, all of the organic material, all of those tubular plant pieces of the knotweed, burn out and leave this honeycomb or bee's nest-like form. One thing that I really like about this particular method and process is it gives me a sculptural form which is both extremely primitive in its quality, looking like something perhaps even pre-human, something that an animal would make, and at the same time it has a wonderful aspect of being a modern abstract sculpture.